It's like I've only been, and thankfully I've only been in one like substantial car accident, but I was in a Jeep and this lady fucking crushed me, dude. And I remember, because Jeep doors when the windows are down, fucking they're like right about to there. So I remember being like almost thrown out the side of the fucking
Holy
Jeep.
shit.
And just dude, my watch band flew off. Like it was so fucking surreal. And I was fucked up. I was super dazed. And of course, this was in Fayetteville.
Oh
And
shit.
the lady was like immediately didn't give two shits about me. She
Yeah.
wasn't worried about me at all. She's like trying to find uh any way that she could try to blame it on me, even though like I'm the one that was like on the right of way turning, and she's just sitting there throwing a fit. And as soon as the ambulance comes, it was like it was like a cartoon, because immediately she like flops down and she's like just I'm like, what the fuck is going on? But I remember having to go to court to fucking like make sure that this person was going to try to hustle me. And I remember the police officers there, and of course it's exactly what you would imagine. This
Yep.
lady tried claiming all these injuries and everything. And never forget, like the cops, like, yeah, your honor, this woman was clearly at fault and speeding. Here's the pictures of the car accident. And I was just like, it was like one of those where I'm like, I didn't even have to say anything. I was like,
Yeah.
Jesus, dude. So yeah, welcome to the episode of Security Hall Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Danny Caballero, and this is part 2 with Nick from Gnar Detachment. We're just talking about car accidents in
Yeah.
America.
Yeah. Greatest country on earth.
Dude, you have an amazing story, an amazing life that we barely really scratched the surface, dude. So I'm gonna let you take control of this and start us off, man. Because I really want to hit. Hey, first of all, I had no idea the medical stuff. Where after we ended the last podcast, we started talking some more. I was like, holy shit, dude! Like, as somebody that medically retired myself, that's something that a lot of people don't realize, that it's easy to think about the combat stuff, and people are always expecting to hear like the war trauma. Oh, you got your legs blown off, you got your arms blown off, this happens. But you don't realize that training is just as dangerous. Just being in this career field is extremely dangerous. So please kick it
Yeah,
off, my
man.
man.
Yeah, aside from all like the little shit going through like the Q course and stuff like that, like shin splints, stress fractures in the legs and stuff, it compounded, you know? It just
Hmm.
kind of got worse as I got further in my career. I remember I first touched a team, bro. I was on the dive team, went to pre-scuba, but tore my meniscus. I remember I was hanging out on the side of the gunnel. It happened during the weight belt swim. And I just remember like a click in my knee, and I was like, well, I can't bend my leg. Like it's not going fully out, extended, and it's not coming it back at all. So I was sitting there and they're like, release the gun on. I was like, nah, man, my leg, I can't. And they're like, what are you talking about? They're like, I can't move my leg, bro. Like, so he's like, all right, hop out of the pool. And he's like, stand up. I'm like, I can't put weight on this thing. So sure as shit, they check it out. Like I can't bend it and stuff like this. My meniscus had torn 90% and then folded over on itself.
Fuck.
And that's called a bucket handle tear, right? So went went through and they're like, all right, well, we need to get you surgery. I get surgery on that. That's 6 month recovery. And yeah, I got fortunate with that. I had like the best surgeon at the time do my thing, and I've never had another knee problem again with my left leg, which is fantastic, you know.
Yeah.
Um, about 4 months later, it was the 4th of July. I remember I had like some severe stomach pain, just random, you know. I was on vacation. I was up in New York, and then I'm on the flight flying back home, and I'm in like excruciating pain at this point, right? You think it's like constipation or something like that. You're like, oh, it is what it is. But I remember I called my team sergeant when I landed. I'm like, I'm going to the ER. And he's like, oh shit, for what? And he's like, I'm like, I got stomach problem, bro. Like it's bad. So I go to the ER. They do some ultrasounds and stuff. They're like, you got gallstones, kid. I'm like, gallstones? What the fuck is that? You know, like I,
I ain't got time for the scientific shit. What is
Yeah,
this?
yeah. So I remember, and I'm like, make it go away,
Yeah.
And I think they had given me like a heavy pain medication that night, and said go home, rest it off. Like you might be able to pass these things. I get home, dude, and I'm in the fetal position on the bathroom floor, like puking up bile, and I couldn't keep down like Gatorade and stuff like that. And I was like, man. So a couple of days later, I go back to the hospital, the ER, and then they do the ultrasound again, and then they keep me there overnight. They're like, well, we got to remove these gallstones, but we also need to remove your gallbladder. And I was like, what? It's not like when you get kidney stones, you just take the kidney.
Yeah.
It's like the way I process that. But uh, I just remember I was like, all right. And that was probably the most miserable part because you're fasted the whole time for days, bro. And I'm
Yeah.
sitting there, and ironically enough, the only thing that's on the fucking TV in front of me is the Food Channel. Dude, I watched so much Gordon Ramsay, Hell's Kitchen, all this, and I'm like, this is worse
Just
than,
drooling, dude.
dude. I couldn't even have Sprite, bro. I wanted Sprite so bad, like, and I'm sitting there staring at the screen. It's like the longest 72 hours of my life.
And was this at Eglin or
Eglin, yeah,
damn?
yeah,
And that's a like it's hit or miss, right? Because I could imagine being in your shoes, and I would want a doctor to explain to me exactly why. Why do you have to carve out a fucking piece of meat?
yeah,
Is there any other alternative? Were they willing to like sit down with you and like give you as much info, or was it like Fort Bragg where it's like whatever, dude, I'm cutting this out of you today?
yeah, dude. It didn't really feel like I had an option, honestly. They're like, we're taking this, and I'm like, what do you mean you're taking? Like this is a part of me. Like, so like they do that. I think it's called a ERCP or something when they go in through like down here, they remove
Hmm.
the gallstones or something. They did that procedure first. I come back and they're like, all right, you can have like a sip of Sprite or something. And then it was like another, dude, and it's crazy. It's like another 24, 36 hours is when we did the surgery. But yeah, it wasn't really articulated to me, the reasoning behind it. Like,
Yeah,
why not give me a chance to just remove the stones and see if they form again? It's not
yeah,
like, and the research that I've done, it's not like they just continuously keep forming. It was just like a bad experience. I don't know. Maybe I ate something or whatever, it just built up and they couldn't pass. They were just large enough to where they couldn't pass. So, they take the gallbladder. And so that's two surgeries in the first year I'm on a team,
fuck.
which is crazy. But
Yeah,
I mean, I just used it as fuel. I was like, I got to get back, bro. Like, I want to get to doing this shit. And, we later linked up in Afghanistan and stuff. So that was like only a couple months after all that had happened,
Jesus.
realistically speaking. So, like, I just worked my ass off. Like, that's all I really used it for.
Yeah,
Um, but what came was like stomach issues, like issues all up in here, like all in that GI tract. It just compounded, and it was shit that I didn't really know was because of that. Like
yeah,
taking the gallbladder produces a lot of the fatty acids to break down fats. Fats are dense. You need that extra acid to kind of break it all down, or else your body's just gonna go right in, it goes right out. So, you know, that gives you what IBS, gives you GERD, because like all that acid is has nowhere to go. Like you produce more stomach acid,
hmm,
so all of that started going upward.
no,
Um, and I had kind of dealt with this shit for years without even getting help because I didn't know. I was like, it's kind of weird that all this stuff started happening. And one of the first things I realized was I would eat food and it would get stuck here. And I had two options. And I would get up, run to the sink, and I'd force myself to throw up because I couldn't pass it. That was like the emergency two. Emergency one was like I would chug an entire bottle of water and force this shit, like using all the muscles in here to force it down. And then because I couldn't really breathe, I started salivating really bad. My throat would tighten up. Come to find out, like as it's time, like I'm later in my career, I start taking care of myself and my body.
yeah,
I'm talking to the doc, the PA a lot. And he's like, dude, I think you got this. And I was like, all right, well, let's set up the appointments. Let's look at this shit. And yeah, so that, yeah, your esophagus has this allergic reaction now to where anytime it has a food that it deems an allergen, it tightens up. So my airway tightens up. And
oh
then
shit,
and over time, it had actually shrank in diameter to half the size of the normal, like the normal regular. I think it's 20. It went down to 10. So they started like doing procedures to kind of stretch it out, but it would just keep going back. So I did four of those, bro. Four. In between that, they put me on a bunch of like immuno response stuff,
Yeah,
like a flow vent fucking inhaler. I had to carry a omeprazole basically everywhere. And omeprazole, was like Tic Tacs for me. Um, yeah, it just gave me a bunch more issues. On top of that, like everything on the opposite end.
dude. And this is the equivalent of putting a professional athlete on all these drugs and all these interventions. Like you're literally, and and this is a complete proper comparison. You're a number one draft pick in the fucking NFL, and before you even fucking make it to your first game, get fucking hurt at training camp,
Yeah,
and then the fucking issues just compound and compound and compound. It's like fuck, dude. And if people have never been in the team and they don't understand the demographic, they don't understand like how cutthroat it can be. The moment you're not performing with everybody else, dude, it's like open season, dude.
yeah,
Especially on a fucking dive team.
yeah.
Like cutthroat as fuck. Like I can't
Well,
even imagine like the mindset to fucking try to remain resilient and keep fucking going, dude.
well, going back to that, right? That knee tear, dude. When I went back, they thought I quit. They thought I quit, Mac. They thought like, oh, he's faking an injury, whatever. I had to go into the team room. I cleaned the fucking team room on crutches, bro. It wasn't until my team sergeant and my captain at the time, like, were like, hey, go home. Like, because it is open season, bro. Like,
Yeah.
especially like with the enlisted side, like they find out or think that you quit something or you didn't show up, bro. It's fair game. And I was just like, whatever. I'm a new guy, but I'll just take this shit in stride. Like I know my knee's fucked up. I can't put weight on it. I can't bend it, 100% this way, and I can't bend it 100% that way. It feels
Yeah.
like something's stuck in there. It's like having like I don't know, a marble or something. It was like a wall.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like to battle back after all that was kind of cool, I guess.
No.
But yeah, like it's like when I start taking care of that, and then you add on the stress, the anxiety of everything else going around you, like because I didn't start taking care of that shit until after I had that incident with the free fall thing, and that was years later, right? That was towards the end of
Shit.
my career, and it was because the anxiety and depression with all of that stuff, and just constantly being in your own head. All it did was exacerbate everything else that I was going on to where like physically like that stuff I had to get something done with it because I couldn't eat. Like I was just drinking protein shakes and eating um things that I knew that would pass. Like I avoided dense foods that I loved, like pasta, fucking rice and chicken, steak, stuff like that. Just because I knew in the back of my head every time I was going to go eat, it was going to get stuck. And that shit's painful, bro. To have to force yourself to throw it all up. Um, so I started getting help and going through that and come to find out that all that shit's connected, bro. Everything that's going on up in here makes everything else physical worse. So
100%.
start sorting through all of that, page by page, frame by frame. Started getting to answers. But yeah, bro, like you really got to take care of yourself.
Dude, it is so hard to I think it's for all of us struggling with this stuff. I think it's incredibly hard to sit down and realize that the mind's connected to the body. I didn't realize it for a long time, and I didn't. And even when doctors were trying to educate me, I didn't want to acknowledge it because
Hmm.
we've been taught what like you can overcome anything. Like you can tell your mind to shut the fuck up.
Oh,
It's like
100%.
I'm not going to listen to this. I can keep going. Like, and that's a mentality that all of us have to get over. Like this idea of like my mind is going to tell me to quit and stop, and I can tell it to shut the fuck up and keep going because I know I got another 5 miles in me.
Yep.
And yeah, that mentality is great when you're trying to fucking get selected. That mentality is great when you're in combat, and you have to fucking make it happen. Like you got to make it to that fucking cover and concealed position that's fucking 1,000 meters away, and you got to make it there. But in real life, when shit starts falling apart, you can't just strong will. You can't will your mind.
Nope.
You can't. You have to get help.
No.
And dude, all of us go through that shit. I remember telling my doctors I didn't want to listen to that. Like, fuck you. I can make it. I can
Yeah,
force it to do what I want it to do. No, dude, you
yeah.
can't. The
I mean, that's
machine's gonna break down.
no, that's ego and self-will going like rampant. Like that's
Yeah,
the destructive side of it all. Is and it's your body's telling you like, bro, something's wrong. Something's wrong. All right, well, you're not going to do anything about it. I'm gonna make it worse. Because that's what happens, dude. You just make it worse and worse and worse. Eventually, you get to a point you're at a standstill and you're actually kind of regressing in life to where you
yeah,
really start to, you start going down that path towards rock bottom. And you'll keep going, like digging yourself in this hole, and you look up and you're like, fuck, it's darkness now. It's
yeah,
fucking dark. Like, all right, well, the only thing I can do is I got to start climbing, and that's when you make that change to start getting help, to start reaching out, to start taking care of yourself. Um, we kind of do that a lot, dude. And
yeah,
I think and we had this conversation too, a lot of dudes come from like a wayward upbringing, right? And it all stems from like past shit, like as a kid, you get into these patterns and all it does is like, I remember going through selection and all that stuff, and your anxiety and stress levels are super high, but none of that stuff really compared to like emotional pain for me. Emotional pain was far more detrimental to me than physical and mental pain. Like I could mentally go through any of that stuff any day of the week, but the emotional pain is what kills a lot of us.
yeah,
Honestly, like you
yeah.
see that a lot.
It's funny, man. Like, a lot of people don't understand the capacity that we have to endure physical pain. Like, it's just, it blows my mind because we try to compare ourselves to other people and like our lived experience and like sit back and reflect on some of the stupid shit we've done. And it's like, dude, like you put yourself through so much physical pain, and other people, just through conversations I've had with other people have had the same sort of neck surgeries that I have had. And my initial incident was back in 2015, and it wasn't until 2017 that I had my surgery. But I lived in constant friggin' pain nonstop, even to the point where it's like I couldn't lift my arm at a certain point. Like I
Yeah,
couldn't, like I would get in my truck and like I'd have to drive like with my arm like this and just be whatever, dude. I can still do my job. Like I don't
yeah,
care. I don't care, man. And you talk to other people that have experienced the same sort of injury, or maybe a fraction of that injury. They're like, it was the worst pain on earth. Like I had to go to the doctors. I was heavily sedated for months, and then I got that surgery as soon as possible. I'm like, oh, really, man. I was stupid. I was really stupid. Like, but we get so used to, and we see it every day. That's the thing. Like we see it, and it's in front of us. Like we see our seniors doing it. We see our senior leaders, especially in the NCO Corps. Like you never met a sergeant major that wasn't in constant pain. Or like if you
no, for
woke up,
sure.
if you woke up in training environment, saw your team sergeant take like 45 minutes to roll out of bed because he's
Yeah,
so fucked, and it's like, oh, okay, so it's normal. But no, like it's not normal. You have to be willing to advocate for yourself, especially if you're at the tip of the spear, especially if you are in soft. You have to be able to take a look at your life, take a look at the amount of pain you're in, and realize that there are some real things you can do to dial back that fucking volume on the pain. But we just don't do it. We don't fucking
no,
do it.
no. Because it's normal for us. It's almost normalized to be like
Yeah,
that. Like if you're not grunting when you're getting out of bed, like well, you
yeah,
didn't work hard enough. But it's like, nah, dog, you ain't
yeah,
taking care of yourself is what it is.
dude.
Um, yeah, dude, like we really do it to ourselves. Like we are very much self-destructive in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to taking care of our own bodies.
Yeah. I think the real injustice is when you take that mentality into the civilian world. Like I see it. I engage with people that glorify it. Like, dude, there's nothing sexy about suffering working your 9 to 5 job.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
there's nothing cool about that. Get help. Go get physically checked out. keep yourself active. Stop drinking, stop binge eating, start doing things that can help you live longer. But you see it all the time. Friggin' heavy drinking, nicotine, and constantly engaging in that mentality of like, oh, I'm supposed to be in pain. Like,
Yeah.
or not. Maybe you're supposed to go
Yeah.
get help for it. Maybe you're supposed to go
Yeah.
talk to a doctor. But it's a mentality that and it goes for anybody that's in the military, not just soft guys. I see a lot of former paratroopers that love to carry that badge of honor of having bad backs and bad knees. I'm like, dog, you weigh 350 pounds. Like,
Yeah.
you need to stop eating and stop drinking alcohol on a consistent basis, and then your body's going to feel better.
Yeah.
Be like, that's the other thing that we do. We glorify constantly drinking. And it's like, dude, fuck, like we have to treat ourselves better. And the
Oh,
message,
100%.
dude,
100%. Yeah, like I mean, I look at it all, it's all band-aids. It's all band-aids, masks, armor. Like you're never really authentically yourself because you've always got like a coping mechanism there. You surround yourself with people instead of dealing with your own shit. You just continue doing these things that aren't helping you heal the problem, right? And it's like I always like equate it to this. Like I always heard this saying growing up, it's like chicks dig scars, you know?
yeah, yeah,
But like if you look at what a scar is healed.
yeah,
Like it's just there. I mean, it reminds you went through the shit. But what chicks don't dig is wearing a bunch of fucking band-aids all the time, dude. Like alcohol band-aid,
yeah,
nicotine band-aid, fucking and I you can go down this list forever, you know.
yeah,
All it is just temporarily providing a stopgap for the inevitable. Like eventually you're gonna have so much shit on, whether it's a mask, armor, band-aid, to where you can't move anymore. And
yeah,
that's when people change, bro, is they wait till that moment, but it's like I want to advocate for it. Just take a second and start removing all that shit and doing the work. Because once you get to the other side of it all, is when you really understand it. Because you could sit there and regurgitate a bunch of shit, like read, and you hear it all the time on Instagram, social media, like these people that have these very wise words to say. And you're like, oh, it all makes sense. But it doesn't really make sense until you experience it,
yeah,
until you actually do it. So you actually start doing the things that they're saying, which is taking care of yourself, doing the shit that you love every day, you know, like that you wake up and like want to do with no outside influence. You know,
yeah.
really start living for yourself.
Dude, it's hard. It's hard trying to constantly put out positivity and see people just completely walk the other way. Like it it baffles me when you're like, hey man, like maybe connect more with your friends. Maybe reach out. And I see it right now, specifically when dealing with suicide awareness, mental health awareness, because it's inevitable. People are going to pass.
Yeah.
And the one thing that frustrates me the most is when people reach out and they're like, man, I could have done something. I wish I would have called. I'm like, they're not going to call out of the blue
Hmm.
unless you start your network, unless you start doing, to be proactive. And that's the one thing that I see. It's like I see a lot of wishing, a lot of hoping, a lot of 22 push-ups a day. That ain't gonna do shit.
No.
Posting the quote isn't gonna do shit. It's putting the things into action,
Yeah.
being men of action. If you want to help do something, set up a freaking phone thread of you and some of your friends. It doesn't have to be 15 people, just you and two other people. Yeah, more of our friends are gonna pass, and that sucks. But if you don't want to be on the sidelines complaining and being upset and being sad, start helping by reaching out and connecting with some of your own friends.
Yeah. You
That's a
really,
reality.
because you need to it if you really want to help someone, you have to inspire them. And I learned this
Yep.
from this that book, The Body Keeps the Score, right? They talk
Yep.
about this study that they did with PTSD and how dogs, right? I think we're a lot like dogs in a lot of ways, if you ask me personally. And they did this study, and they took a dog, they threw him in a cage, they put a shock collar on him, right? And that was the control. So they closed the door, they shocked him. They wanted to see how he would respond and, you know, kind of learn how to deal with it, right? Deal with what, you know, the inevitable, so to speak. So he learns to cope with it, right? Then they take another group of dogs, they throw them in these cages, they leave the door open, and they put the shock collar on them. They shock them one time, they run out the door. The second they open the door for the dog that's already conditioned to it, he stays there. He had already learned how to deal with that shit that way. So the only way you're really going to help someone get through all this learned behavior is one, you could drag them out of it, but that's really only going to work if they're willing and open to. Or two, they got to get the fuck up and they got to walk out the door themselves. They
Yep.
got to get sick of what living the way that they live and get out and do something for themselves. Because you can't drag people out of the fire. You really can't. You
Yep.
can inspire them though to take a step. And that's the way that I look at it. So I think like the way that I try to help people is I live my life the way that I want to live my life 100%. I'm 100% myself. I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks, says, feels. It's how I feel internally, right? Because that closed jar mentality, nothing external to me is going to fulfill me. It's all internal shit. And I'm only going to be fulfilled by doing the shit that I love. The like waking up every day and being like, oh, okay, I want to go skateboard. I'm going to go skateboard for a couple hours. Helping people, like stuff like that.
Yep.
Status, money, anything else, that's not going to fulfill me. It's all just band-aids at the end of the day.
Yep.
So that's the way I look at it all. That book really did help me a lot, man, a ton, because it has a lot of experiences and studies, and that to me is worth its weight in gold. It doesn't help me to go to therapy all the like it does help because it gives me perspectives, um, and it gives me like the wisdom and the verbiage and the quotes and all that stuff. But what helps me is seeing someone else that's been through similar, if not worse, shit than me get to the other side of it. So like the best thing you could do is take that step, live that life, and then inspire others to do the same so that they
Yep.
could take the step forward and they pass it off.
Dude, that book was the first book I read. Um, I started reading it before I really started healing. And then when I absolutely needed it, I refound it again when I was at Laurel Ridge. And it's a perfect, my experience with this, it's a perfect example of doing something when you're not ready for it and you're reading words that you're not really taking in. You're reading content that you're not really soaking in, and it's just a book. The moment you sit down, you're ready to receive that knowledge, ready to
Hmm.
like be engaged with it. The amount of information, the amount of healing that came from just reading that book and then being able to discuss it with my doctors was insane. You know, I grew up in a hellish environment,
Yeah.
drowning in anxiety and stress reaction, always in fight or flight. And I suffered from so many physical manifestations of anxiety and stress. I didn't know. I didn't know
Yeah.
they were related. I thought it was allergic reactions. So here, and that's how my entire life was. What? How do I deal with all these physical ailments that are always plaguing me? And I didn't know. I would, I looked at dietary restrictions. I looked at this. I looked at that. And it wasn't until I read that book that I realized, oh shit, it's all these flare ups, all these things that I'm going from skin issues to canker sores, digestive issues. I didn't realize it was all stress related.
Yeah.
Like, since reading that book and realizing that the moment that I pause, breathe through something, de escalate my stress, 90% of the shit that I dealt with for my entire fucking life, gone. Don't deal with it. And it's a first, now it becomes that canary in the coal mine moment. If I realize that I'm undergoing inflammatory response, I'm like, oh, wait, what am I dealing with that's stressful? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. This is why I'm dealing with this shit. And finally being able, it was just like fucking being handed the keys to, you know, your own fucking cage, your own prison, being like, here you go, you're free now. It's like,
Yeah.
fuck, dude. But we don't, when we're not ready to accept something, when we're not ready to really internalize a solution and answer, it's going to miss us. And
Yeah.
that's the reality that we're dealing with a lot of people um, that are dealing with mental health issues. Like a
Yeah,
lot of
there's
people reach out and it's like, dude, unless you're willing to change, unless you're willing to actually like put this shit into work, you ain't gonna go anywhere. Like I
yeah,
don't want to be a fucking statistic. I don't. And I know when I get into my depressive moods, I know when I'm dealing with extreme anxiety, I know what to do. Like call my therapist, fucking let her know what's going on, and fucking debrief her when I see her every week.
yeah,
Like engage with my modalities. I'm lucky, I'm fortunate that I'm willing to continuously learn. I know the benefits of it. The person I am today is not the same person that I was when I first started this fucking journey. And telling people like how happy you are versus the way you were, that's the hardest thing because they look at you from a filter of like, well, you weren't that bad back then. It's like
yeah,
you don't recognize it because you're still in it, dog. Like
yeah,
I was fucking done. I was ready to check out. I was ready to go home and do something stupid. And I was wearing a mask every day.
yeah,
Like,
100%.
and that's a maddening thing where people are like, I just had coffee with a buddy that he's still deep in it, still in, still having a horrible time, still hating it. And it was like trying to have this discussion of like, hey, no, I'm happy. I'm fucking completely in my element doing something I'm passionate about. And they're still under the understanding of like, oh man, like you're missing out. I'm like, I'm missing out on shit, dude. Like, look at you right now. Look at the stress you're going through.
Yeah,
Like, we're here meeting because you're having horrible thoughts about doing something awful, and you still don't want to say, yeah, you're right. Maybe I will go to P3. It's like,
yeah,
dude, like if you don't, you're not going to be here for much longer, man. And that's the truth because you're right in the same situation where I was just a few years ago. And
yeah,
guys just think that they can push the luck. It's like, nah, it's just bad for right now. It'll get better. It's like, dude, you're in an abusive relationship with an organization. That's exactly what it is. You're in an abusive relationship with an organization, and we're having coffee. And even though you don't have a black eye, and you're not trying to hide the spousal abuse between you and Big Army, like you're in it, and you're gonna stay in it until you're willing to fucking say, you know what, enough's enough. I'm leaving. I'm gonna put myself first. That's a it's a hard fucking thing to deal with.
yeah,
Like,
100%. I mean, like it goes back to what we talked about last time, that identity aspect of it
yeah,
all. You get wrapped around your identity, and you touched on it, that wayward upbringing. You're used to that.
yeah,
You're used to the abuse, like because that's what you were bred into. And people that have had this cookie cutter, upbringing, they don't really relate to that part, but there's a lot of operators that do. We come from these broken homes, like this
yeah,
crazy, chaotic life. And all that does is it's cyclical, bro. Like these moments, and you'll like the more work you do, you'll be like, I've been doing this shit my whole life, whether it's with a girlfriend, whether it's with your wife, whether it's with your kids, your family, every friendship that you've had, jobs, everything you fall into the same fucking patterns over and over again. And it's almost like God's trying to tell you, like, hey, brother, if you keep living the way that you live, you're going to keep doing the shit that you're doing, and the same shit's going to happen to you. And
yeah,
it's only going to get worse. It only gets worse. And next thing you know, you find yourself at rock bottom, ready to just be like, oh, the pain's so fucking bad. That's why I talk about emotional pain is the worst pain it is for a man, because a man can't deal with emotions. And it's because like that environment that we're told that, like, you can't feel that way because you're a bitch, you're a pussy
yeah,
or whatever, you put these negative connotations on it. And it's like, nah, dog, like this shit's painful, bro. Like, but it's painful because we don't process it. It's painful because we don't put the work in. It's painful because we don't support each other and be like, hey man, it's okay to feel that way. We understand it. We got you, bro. That's why it's fucking painful. That's why so many people go through this. It's why, like, you see a buddy
yeah.
that's lost someone, they can't deal with the emotional pain. Women are phenomenal at dealing with emotional pain because they deal with it all the time. Once a month, every month, they get emotional pain. Once a month. Like they're just more emotionally mature than men are. And it's because we don't take the time to do it. We don't put the same amount of time into this as we do lifting weights,
Yeah.
running, doing that shit. We put so much time into the physical and mental aspect of it all, but emotionally, we are like kids, bro.
Oh,
And
100 fucking percent. We are never taught emotional intelligence, and it's never valued. It's never put into the curriculum, and it should be. You
yeah,
ask me what should be added to the Q course, the fucking you need to bring in fucking Brene Brown for an entire phase of fucking training. It should be go through the Q course, go through the entire pipeline. Then at the end with language school, you'll do a fucking full month of fucking emotional intelligence by Brene Brown. Brene Brown, if you're out there and someone throws this at you, you need to submit for a contract with SOCOM.
Yeah.
And that's a reality. I didn't realize how many of us are just pretending because we saw a way an aggressive leader mentored us or led, and we thought, okay, that's what it means to be a man. Like, that's what I got to do. I got to be the angry, violent individual. And it's like, no, dude, like that's Hollywood's representation of leadership.
Yeah.
I have never seen a good leader that did that shit. The best leaders and the ones that I finally were exposed to in SF, the really good ones, they don't lose their cool. And no one's going to listen to the dipshit that's screaming on the fucking radio. No
Yeah.
one. Absolutely fucking no one. That loss of composure, that loss of control, like, you ain't never going to be an effective leader.
Yeah.
Like, calm, cool, collected. Like, and that's emotional intelligence. No one fucking tells us about our emotions. No one teaches us about a fucking feelings wheel until we've actually gone through the absolute worst and we're in a mental health institution with no fucking laces or belts. And
Yeah.
finally, somebody's in front of us talking to us about emotional regulation.
Yeah.
You know, I remember never having control of my anger. Never. You grow up an abused kid, and all you know is fucking getting beat down, and then you get up, you grow up, and you get bigger, and now you can break shit. Fuck yeah, you're gonna break shit. You're gonna smash shit, but nobody's there to fucking tell you that, hey, there's a better way of doing it, because they're gonna
Yeah.
use that. They want that. They want you to be fucking volatile. No one's gonna say, yeah, hey, take a knee, take a deep breath, fucking calm yourself. Nope. And that's the sadness. The fact that I lived my entire life not understanding the strength and power that came with being able to control my own emotions. They're mine. They don't control me. I'm not my thoughts. I'm not my emotions.
Yeah.
If I go through and experience a loss, I can grieve. I know that I can go through my process of grieving through my own way, through my own fucking experience and timeline. Same with anger. Anger is valid, but I'm not going to take it out on my fucking house. I paid for this fucking house. I'm
Yeah.
damn sure not going to take it out on another human being that has nothing to do with this, especially someone I love. Why would I do that? No. And nobody wants to sit down and say, okay, our soft professionals need some training on emotional intelligence. Let's figure this out.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
because it's on the wheel, bro. I mean, it's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Like it's
yeah,
on the wheel of shit that you need to do. And I'm not saying you need to go be religious or whatever, but just be open minded.
yeah,
I equate spiritualism to just having that perspective to be open to new things, you know. But that emotional part on there, it's probably arguably the most important one for a man.
yeah,
That emotional maturity, because chaos will always be there. It'll always be there, but how do you control it? How do
yeah,
you act? How do you react? Like, how do you make decisions based on how you're feeling? Are you a very emotional person? Well, inherently, you become very impulsive. You say and do shit on the first fucking feeling you got. Okay, I feel like this. I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna go break this shit.
yep,
Okay, you become very destructive because you don't know how to control chaos, and I equate it all to upbringing. It's all learned behavior from a kid. Childhood trauma is like one of the things that like hurts a lot of us in a lot of ways. You have this crazy fucking childhood, bro. I
yeah,
listened to that whole podcast, and it's like, I could relate to that in a lot of ways. I had a lot of and the way I learned to get over it was like, as a kid, you don't have the words to articulate how you're feeling.
yep,
So how do? You act on how you feel. Okay, you start feeling sadness. Well, how am I going to cope with sadness? You can't articulate the way that you can now. I could tell you exactly why I felt sad in those moments. I could tell you everything, but you don't have the words for it as a kid. You don't
yep,
have the knowledge, the wisdom yet. So, okay, I became very avoidant. Okay, something bad would happen in my life, like I don't know, my parents or something, like, they got to go to work. You don't know why they got to go to work and they can't spend 8 hours a day with you. So you become avoidant. You become emotionally detached.
yeah,
So for me, play video games, go hang out with my friends, do something that would take my mind off of dealing with the emotion in that moment. Um, yeah, it's all learned behavior, and you just continue to learn it. And like you're like, oh, I just acted that way my whole life. No one ever told you like, no, you're not supposed to act like that, brother. You should probably
Yeah.
deal with your emotions. And it's not till you hit rock bottom till you start doing destructive things to where you need to make a change to where you really understand all of that.
That's so true, man. And I want to get your story. I want to, because I know we shared a little bit, dude. Like, what was it like for you growing up? It's like we
Yeah.
talked about this like right after we cut last time.
Yeah. And that's what led us here, right? We talked
Yeah,
about the wayward upbringing that leads
yeah,
you to be an operator. And that's like, I would say like 70 to 75% of us have this crazy childhood.
yeah.
Um, yeah, man, I'm going to preface it with saying this, like my mother did everything that she could for me. Everything. She was only ever there for me. Same thing with my grandmother. I'm gonna say I mean use the term perceived father because it all makes sense, right? Everyone knows me by the last name Gonzalez, but no one really knows me by DLJ. Um, and then my father, like amazing person, right? And I I have no regrets with how all of this stuff unfolded. Like I'm only ever grateful for it because it's made me the person that I am today. And I wouldn't change anything about it, honestly, really. But growing up, it was yeah, man, it was definitely unconventional, not like the most but so like yeah, like I grew up thinking one man was my father my whole life, right? And that's because that was told to me. And my mom and him perceived father, they didn't just connect or become a thing. So I just lived with my mother and my grandmother for most of my life, and then my stepfather eventually, who was always there for me. Yeah, so as a kid, like growing up, like my perceived father wasn't really there. He was, in the Navy, kind of just did his own thing, called like once or twice a year, maybe, only ever talked about himself, what he had going on. I remember I went down there for a year to live with him and I was miserable. I cried every fucking day, bro. I was like, I would go to school, and as soon as I was done with school, I'd go to daycare for a couple, like not till like 7 p.m. I was always the
Yeah.
last kid in daycare type shit. So he would pick me up and I would just repeat every day, Monday through Friday. We only ever did shit that he wanted to do for the most part. I don't really have any good memories with him growing up. And it'll all make sense when I get to the later half of this story. But so I remember coming back home to my mom, and I was like, don't send me back there. Just don't send me back there. And so I stayed with my mom, my grandmother. They kind of raised me, and eventually my stepfather, and then I lived with my brothers and sisters in that family. But I was very rebellious as a kid, super rebellious,
Yeah.
and like sneak out of the house every night, like just go out, party, drink. And the older I got, the worse it got. And all I was doing was avoiding all these emotions that I had. All I ever wanted was validation from my father. I always had this question in the back of my mind, like what is it about me? Like he takes zero interest in me. Come to find out, I'm 18 years old. I just graduated high school, and my mom comes in. And her and my stepdad split, so they kind of they went our separate ways. She started dating again. She comes in. She's like, "Hey, I have something to tell you." I'm like, "Okay, what is it?" And she's like, "I'm seeing this guy. He saw a picture of you. He says he's your father." 18 years old, bro.
Damn.
Like, like just randomly, like on a random Tuesday, like today. And I was like, "Okay, why does he say that?" Well, it gave me kind of the backstory of kind of like how I was, conceived and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, well, for a man to say something like that, like by all means, like there's a lot of confidence behind it for sure. So we went and did the DNA test. Sure as shit, that's my father. So I grew up my whole life, bro, not knowing that I had another brother or sister out there and that my father was 40 minutes from me.
Fuck.
Yeah,
God
man.
damn.
So went down that, and I mean that was a culture shock in itself too. But I would have never made that decision had my perceived father been a good father.
Yeah.
I would have probably said no because like okay, if it was true, like then what?
Yeah.
It's just how do you move on that? But things happen the way that they're intended to happen. It's all by design at the end of the day. So I start hanging out with them, and I wasn't really ready for it. Like I wasn't ready to have a father in my life, especially at 18 years old. You can't tell me shit. Like the fuck, I'd already
Fucking
spent.
grown, old man.
Yeah, no. Come to find out, you're really not a fucking man, really, until like 25, 26.
Yep.
Like honestly. Um, but yeah, a lot came from that. So like he would try to be a father, and I just wasn't ready to accept it all. So I ended up like I ended up like dropping out of college because he was paying for my college the first year I was in, the first 2 semesters, and because I hated school, and again fell into my rebellious patterns, went to partying, drinking, whatever. Got a personal training certification, started making decent money. 10 years ago, 50,000 is a lot of money.
Hmm.
Especially when you live with a roommate. You could party every day of the week, and I fell into this cycle where I wasn't really doing shit with my life. And I ended up cutting all them out because that's all I did. Like anytime something bad would happen to me, someone do me wrong, I'd cut them out
Yep.
like that. Okay, you fucked me over, gone. That's you can't live like that, especially when people care about you. I had done that to my mom so many times. I had done that to my grandma, my everyone close to my life. The second they did me wrong, I cut them out. I'd run away. I ran away from home so many times as a kid, so many,
That
and
was
that's
the
what I.
opposite. I kept giving my biological family way too many shots,
Yeah,
way too many attempts because family's such a powerful thing, man.
it really
Right?
is, bro. And I didn't learn that until I got older, right? But what I really had to do, so like me getting away, I moved to the middle of Central Virginia, which in relation to Virginia Beach is like 2, 3 hours, right? I was in the
Hmm.
Shenandoah Valley, right outside of Monticello in Charlottesville, and I was doing my own shit. And I was living with my uncle at the time, who was my perceived father's wife's brother, who I was just really close with. He was like
Yeah.
a best friend, like an older brother type to me. So I was living with him. He was going through his marital problems or whatever. So we were kind of helping each other, and we were doing a lot of hiking, soul searching, just doing the right things. And I was like, man, okay. And that's when I went down that fire department route, didn't get in, and then
Yeah.
joined the military, exactly a year later. And yeah, and it was even then, like, because I had still had my brother, my father on that side cut out. And then my mom, I only really talked to her, but I just really like focused on myself and trying to heal this stuff and process it. I eventually got to a point full circle where I was like, and I had this like overwhelming presence come over me. Like, all right, reach out to someone that you love, go talk to them. I was like, and I kept having that feeling over and over again. I didn't invite my real father to my graduation when I got my Green Beret. He
No
asked to
shit.
go. Yeah, he asked to go.
Fuck.
And eventually it got to a point because what I really needed was answers. Like it still didn't register to me that this dude spent, like my perceived father, spent 18 fucking years of my life not being in my life. I think about it like this, like if I have a kid, bro, my like everything that I do revolves around them.
Yep.
Everything. I want to see them reach all of their dreams, and I want them to do the most in life, and I want to give them everything. It didn't register to me that like a person could do that. And that really fucked me up, man, because it was like what like because everything that I did, it was like even when I got my Green Beret, like he wasn't even really proud of me because he was still kind of in my life at that time. I hadn't
Yep.
cut him out. I was like kind of like because I had my like uncle, at my side. I
Hmm.
kept him there too because they were close. And eventually I got to a point where it's like, I got to cut this dude out. Like, there's nothing, he's not bringing any value or good to my life.
Yep.
He only ever is weighing me down. I got to let go of all that baggage. I can't carry that with me. I got to live for myself. So,
Absolutely.
like, ended up doing the things that I did. I reconnected with my real father, and then we built a really good relationship. Same thing with my brother, built a really good relationship. And, I wasted a lot of time trying to figure my own shit out, and I caused a lot of people a lot of pain, man. And it always comes back to that saying, like, hurt people hurt people.
Yes, dude. It is such a powerful fucking saying. It's what we do.
Yeah. And you don't
It's
realize it.
we destroy relationships because we're dealing with a pain that is so deep. A lot of times we don't even want to fucking acknowledge it. We don't even want to fucking look at it. We don't want to give it any like airtime because we know like, oh, this is gonna make me vulnerable.
Yeah.
Fuck this. I'm gonna lash out to the world, and who's the closest to us? They're gonna get it. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Because you don't hurt people that you don't really associate with. And all this did was it showed up in every single intimate relationship that I was in, every single one of them.
Yep.
Because the ones that which I would start to get close with, I'd get uncomfortable, I'd leave. The second, like I saw like a red flag, gone, done. The one that I did decide to open up to burned me. And then as soon as I got burned, what I do, I closed myself off again. You go on to the, it's like fucking, it's like a teeter totter, bro. You just go from
Yep.
one side to the next until you realize it, like, and you get off the thing entirely. You stop filling yourself up with this, frivolous nonsense, and you do the work. And then you realize, okay, it doesn't have to be that way. I'm allowed to feel the way that I feel. It's not personal what anyone else does to me. It's only personal if I allow it to be personal. So you start to, restructure your life in a lot of ways. You start to realize like the shit that you do really does hurt, like can affect people. And
Oh
you don't
yeah.
want to do that. You don't want to do that. And, if you want like a successful family, marriage, kids, wife one day, you really have to put the work in, man. And
You do.
I had done, like I'm telling you, like, and that's all from childhood shit. Like just because I was burned and I had all these bad moments as a kid, and I didn't know how to register it all, I had all this learned behavior. I just brought it into every relationship that I had been.
Yeah. That's something that and that self-fulfilling prophecy and being able to destroy every relationship. It's all going to fall apart or they're going to leave me. It's like, dude, the more you say it, the more you are putting that in there. Like you're trying to make this manifest yourself.
Yeah, you self-willed it into existence,
I've
bro.
seen so many of my friends talk themselves into a divorce, into a horrible situation that they created, that they manifested.
Yeah. And a
Like
good way to look at it is every relationship you're a part of, you're automatically 50% of the problem.
you're a factor.
You're automatically half of it. It's two people, you're one.
Yeah.
That's it. If you look at it that way and you only control the 50% that you can control, you're going to be successful because that is half the battle. Because you could take, you start reading all this shit, but you could take someone that's broken and fix them. But you have to be completely secure. That is the only way you can do it. Two broken people can't heal themselves like each other. You can only heal yourself and you can go in that way. And if you
But
go into,
man, when you're broken though, and
oh,
I've experienced it and I've seen it. Broken people attract broken people and they're a
yep,
magnet. And I see it with individuals all the fucking time. No one can make you whole but you.
yep,
You're the
yep,
only person that can fix that. She can't fix you, and he
yep,
can't fucking fix you.
yep.
You
That
need to be able to
closed.
walk away and get healthy. And I see it all the fucking time. And when you try to bring that up to couples that you know are fucking doomed and destined for more breakdowns and more fucking clashes and more drama, it's like you're never going to be able to talk to them and be like, hey, both of you need time apart. They'll
Yeah.
be like, fuck you. Who are you to tell us? We're going to be miserable together. It's like,
Yeah, dude.
fuck, dude. I've had friends that for almost decades now, almost 2 decades, you shouldn't be together. You're miserable with her. She's miserable with you.
Yep.
But misery loves company, and they're going to
Yeah.
stick through it, and they're going to drive each other to the point of like horrible consequences. And it's like, dude, leave.
Yeah.
Leave. You're not
Yeah.
happy. She doesn't make you happy. You don't make her happy. But once you put enough time into it, to them, it makes perfect sense to be miserable together.
Yeah, dude, like you said. I mean, and it happens in the military, in the organization that we just came from. Like it's like you said, an abusive relationship. For me, I stuck around for the highs, but when the highs became fewer and far between,
Yeah.
like it's inevitable, bro. Inevitable, bro. Like
Yeah.
it comes, bro. Like everyone's time comes to an end with it. Like and relationships are no different with that. Like especially when it's like miserable like that and it's just
Yeah.
chaos. Like you can't live for the highs in that. You're just wasting time.
Yeah.
Like,
That stuff is like riding a wave, man. It can be, you can catch a perfect wave, ride it, and then come on shore and get thrashed around. Like if you have a bad team, just hold out. Hold out. It'll get better.
Yep.
You'll ride at the top again. You'll be having awesome, and then it's gonna come crashing down. Maybe you go to Swick, maybe you get recruiter detachment and it sucks. Then
Well, and
just
it's
let
all what you make of it anyways.
yeah.
Perspective has a lot to deal with it. Like looking back now, that was one of the things that I wish I would have done better. Like, all right, those high moments, like let me really enjoy and soak those in. But
Yeah.
the worst moments, let me really try to make these better. Let me not engage in these conversations because it happens all the time. Like, fuck this shit. Like this shit's whack. I'm
Dude,
doing paper.
yes.
I'm doing paperwork for a week for a range that's gonna get canceled. Like
Or
shit
maybe
like,
it doesn't. Or
or
maybe it
maybe it
doesn't.
doesn't.
Yeah.
Or like just enjoy it, like be present,
Yeah,
slow things down. Like we're already so fast as a society and it only gets faster. Like the more like technology that comes out, the more instantaneous things become. Like
dude.
think about it, I could order a fucking meal right now and it'll be at my doorstep by the time this podcast is over. Like, I
Yeah,
don't have to do a thing. Like the world's moving fast, bro. And it's like
absolutely.
just slow it all down, enjoy those moments, because if they are becoming fewer and far between, like you already know, like it might not be a while until you get to experience this again. So really enjoy it.
Yeah, dude, find your purpose, find your passion, and then be brave. Be willing to tell yourself that this is whatever you're experiencing. If it's not that, if it doesn't meet your requirements, walk away from it.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
willing to walk away from it because fuck you only have one life. Are you going to be miserable? Are you willing to be miserable in another job, in another profession for money, for status,
Yeah.
for a paycheck? No. Go do what makes you happy. Go
Absolutely,
do
man.
what makes you happy. And guys are like, well, I don't know what that is. Well, explore. Be willing to fucking explore.
Yeah. Like make a decision, because that's another thing too. Like you learn that when you start your own business and you start going and doing the things that you want to do, that any decision is better than no decision.
Yes.
So, because you don't know if it's a bad or good decision. And again, perspective, it's all what you make of it. Okay, well, I did this. I didn't really like it. Well, what'd you learn? I learned that I didn't like this. So, process of elimination, boom. Now you can move on to the next thing that you wanted to try. Okay, this was a better decision. Okay, keep going. Like, at least you didn't stay in the same fucking spot.
Yeah.
Like, at least you moved a direction, you know? A lot of us are afraid to make a decision. We're afraid to say no to shit too, because we
Yep.
want so much. Like people pleasers are the worst fucking people in this world because they're the most unauthentic, disingenuine people. Because everything that they do is based on the validation of someone else.
Fucking salespeople.
Salespeople.
Dude, every fucking day you sit there and you will find a new posting for sales. High energy. I'm looking for high earning individuals. Like, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna fucking sell your goddamn boner pills.
Yeah.
And it's like it's an easy job. It's an easy job, and you'll see the recruitment for soft guys too. And I'm telling you right now, if you're a soft professional transitioning back into the civilian world, it's very alluring to go into like medical sales or go into sell some product for somebody. Don't fucking do it. Don't fucking do it.
I'll tell you that firsthand, bro. Like I spent like 5 out of 6 months in this SkillBridge program.
Yeah.
And SkillBridge program's great if you do what the fuck you want to do. I
Yep.
was chasing someone else's success. I saw the amount of money they were making. All my background is computer science, cybersecurity, echo, technology bullshit.
Yeah.
All right, a shoe in. I get there. I'm in this culture. I'm around these people, and it's not all toxic people, but the environment is toxic.
Yeah.
Like if everything that you do is based on like getting a promotion, making more money, like it's probably not the right place for you. If you're a
Yeah.
person that likes service, that has a lot of intrinsic value from service, I don't know a lot of people that get a lot of intrinsic value off of selling some shit, unless they're selling something that is like a genuine like service to the world, like
Yeah.
something that's gonna like cure cancer legitimately. Like I don't know really anyone that's in sales that loves sales,
No.
honestly, because you're selling something that you don't actually believe in. You're just doing it for a paycheck, and you
Yeah.
get paid a fuck ton of money. Those splits are like
Shitload.
I don't know. They could be like, I've seen 30, 70, like 70% commission, with those commission checks being hundreds of
Dude.
thousands of dollars. Like,
Yeah.
60/40 is pretty much the standard. And when your base salary is 120 and you're making fucking, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know, extra 100 grand on top of that, it's like,
It's
it's,
really alluring.
it
I
is.
get it. It's really provocative. It's really alluring to go out there and sell fucking Pfizer's latest boner pills. But I'm telling you, you will be happier if you take some time, figure out who you are, figure out what you are, and go after something that's going to really fulfill you, man. Because you just spent an entire decade or two doing something that you were contracted to do, and some of it was really good. You enjoyed some of it, and some of the parts you didn't really enjoy. So it's now your world, your freedom.
Yeah.
Find something you're passionate about. And a shameless plug for the Honor Foundation, because it helped me a lot. Um, if you're transitioning anytime soon and you don't know where to start, you have no understanding, haven't built a resume before, don't know what your options are, don't know what industries are out there, look up and get in touch with the Honor Foundation. Just a quick 10-minute Google search could get you the information that could get you like a huge head start. I've yet to meet somebody that I either went through the program with, or somebody that has gone there that I know that didn't have a great experience. It didn't find something instantly once they
Hmm.
were fucking out. Like, and maybe take that first 6 months off. Maybe
Yep.
if you don't have to work, don't work. But I know that the Honor Foundation makes a difference, and made a difference in my life. And even if it's as simple as getting you exposure to Simon Sinek's why, and developing an understanding of what your passion and your purpose is, do that. Because you've already lived an entire life doing something for somebody else. Now put some effort into figuring out what you want to do.
Yeah,
Like,
100%. Especially if you really want to help other people too.
yeah,
I mean, that's like the best way to do it, to inspire someone. And if someone else sees you living the life that you like, living life the way they want to live life, like, it's very inspirational. Like,
absolutely.
I love seeing people chase their dreams, man, because it just reminds me to chase my own. And
Yes.
so, when and a lot of us surround ourselves with the wrong people in that sense, that they don't genuinely want, like, you should really surround yourself with people whose dreams for you are bigger than your dreams for yourself. Honestly. Like,
Yeah.
if they don't support you and all that stuff, like they probably shouldn't be there, man. Like, and not everyone is meant to go on your journey. Like, really understand that your path is your path. But you're going to meet people the further you get on your path that really align with what you're trying to do, and it's just going to help you. Like, but
Yep.
don't be afraid to, like, my biggest advice with that I wish I would have done sooner was just ask myself the right questions, and just be ready and open to be honest with myself. Like,
Yeah.
all right, what the fuck do I want to do? Like, me, no one else around me. Like, say they're all gone, it's just me. What do I want to do? Okay, I want to be in service. I'm going to look up jobs that help me serve, right?
Yeah.
Firefighter fell right in line with that. I want to start a business to where I can inspire others to live a very rad, gnarly life, right? Going back to that movie Point Break. To me,
Yeah.
Point Break's got it all figured out. Johnny Utah at the end of that is an enlightened man. The
Yeah.
dude's surfing and he's in service. That's the perfect life for me. And if you take that time in the beginning to just be honest with yourself, take a paycheck, take all that bullshit out of it. All right, this is what I want to do. I don't give a fuck what anyone else thinks, feels about what I'm doing. They could be haters, bro. One thing you're going to learn too is, like, you're never going to be judged or criticized by someone that's doing better than you in life. They don't got the time for it. And when you
Yeah.
start doing the shit that you want to do, your time gets consumed, bro. You get obsessed. The same obsession that you had when you first got into the Q course and you're learning something, that's the same obsession you'll have again when you figure out what the fuck you want to do.
Absolutely, man. And that's the truth. Small minds gossip, big minds are thinking of concepts and things they can do to improve their lives and the lives of others. Don't ever think that. Never lose sleep on what motherfuckers are thinking about you.
Yeah,
Don't fucking matter.
it don't.
They ain't paying your fucking bills. They're not there helping you finish your book or write your next one. They're not there fucking figuring out how to develop great interactive fucking content that can drive customers to your fucking storefront. They're not doing any of that shit. They're worried about shit like defense ready. They're
Yeah.
worried about shit like, oh, we gotta make sure these packets get staffed. Fuck that.
And
Fuck them dudes.
they're having the same conversations, bro. They're just sitting there. Hey, remember when we did that badass thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. It was
Yeah.
sick. Why we
Yeah.
talk about it today?
Yeah. Now get your ass to that fucking early morning formation, dog. You're gonna
Yeah.
be late.
Go, hey, blast your boots, man.
At
Get
the
it.
end of the day, the motherfuckers are miserable.
Yeah,
And I ain't
dude.
got time to worry about that shit.
Dude,
And neither
no.
do you.
No, absolutely not, man. Like that's like the biggest takeaway from all this. Like just be you, man.
Yeah.
Like be you. Like you don't have anything else to worry about anymore. There's no organization you're a part of. You have no one telling you how to live. Like there's no boundaries and stuff in it all, right? And
Yeah.
that's another thing that I really want to say is figure like when you figure out who you are, like don't fall into that same trap and put up a ton of boundaries, walls, and shit, because you're just adding obstacles, right? You really got to let go of it all. Think of it as baggage, sort of say, like cut all of that bullshit out, let go of the bags. You're in an open field, so don't put up walls, don't put up doors, don't put up too many boundaries. Like have boundaries for like self-respect and shit like that, and just walk forward. Don't let anything get in your way. Another person's opinion, what people are saying, like the wrong shit, like getting caught up in the partying and drinking and all that shit again. Just live your life the way you want to live, bro.
Yeah. Nick,
That-
thank you so much for coming back on for this part 2, brother. I
Absolutely, man.
greatly appreciate it, man. Again, it's Gnar Detachment, Nick Doj. I always fucking fuck it up.
It's
So,
D. All right, I got you, brother.
we're gonna edit that part.
Yeah, D-R-J.
Doj, yes, it's Nick Doj. The company is Gnar Detachment. You can find him on Instagram. Are you on Twitter?
Nope.
Facebook?
So, nope.
Perfect. Only
Yeah,
Instagram.
yeah. I mean, because
Limited.
I get the most engagement out of that. Again, like looking into the analytics of it all, you
Dude,
become like consumed.
it's the
Instagram,
only one. It's the fucking only one. Twitter or X, I can't even find it on my fucking phone anymore, dude. It's annoying as fuck. And Facebook is fucking worthless.
yeah.
I get no engagement except for like old people trying to sell fucking random products. So, yeah.
No, 100%, bro. It's just, yeah, you got to look at what like you're putting your time into, what gives you the biggest bang for your buck. If you
Yeah.
want to reach people, like by all means, you build enough following there, you can come back to that other shit later, but don't
Yeah.
oversaturate your stuff and put time into all these facets when you have one that's doing really well.
That's exactly it, dude. I do my content specifically for Instagram. Um, yeah. We can go on that later.
Yeah.
Thanks again.